Hey, thanks for tuning in to this video. In this short video, I'm going to reveal 7 strategies to get pre-qualified buyers to submit a winning offer on a listing in 90 days or less. All right, let's get started. It's awesome when you finally crack the code on generating a consistent flow of buyer leads that are either already pre-approved for a mortgage or get pre-approved through your lender that you work with fairly quickly. All right. However, you don't make one red cent from just collecting a huge database of buyer leads or of collecting a huge pile of pre-approvals. You only make real money when those buyers actually pick a house and submit a winning offer that gets accepted and then closes. We all know that. However, sometimes it's hard to not get annoyed and frustrated with buyers when they insist on either not submitting offers or making these unrealistic lowball offers that offend sellers and then kind of set the whole negotiation process backwards. Okay, so in this video, I'm going to share with you 7 proven ways to get your buyer leads to submit winning offers within 90 days or less. Okay, let's get started. Number 1, it's the basic. It's in your buyer presentation where you really set the table. This is your first chance to influence your buyer's motivation for their purchase timeline. Okay. Your presentation has to be organized in a way that clearly spells out an overview of the entire process and a timeline for each step. It's not enough just to give them a checklist of things that you're going to do. You have to have a timeline, and preferably a dated timeline, so that they know, if today's date was January 1st, and then you told them that in 10 days they need to do X, Y, and Z. So they have a time in their mind on that ties into their goal too. You know, we're not forcing people to do things they don't want to do, but the fact of the matter is they said they want to have a house by March 1st, and there are certain things that have to be met in a certain timeline. And so you need to have that timeline spelled out in the buyer's presentation. Then in the upcoming days and weeks, as you complete each step, you can gently remind them of the next step coming up as promised when you first spoke to them. So you can just say, hey, listen, all right, today is January 7th. We've done X, Y, and Z. Now remember, by the next weekend, we need to have this done and that whole bit. And so it's very important that you do that. All right. So the other thing is you can't mention phrases like whenever you're ready or take your time. That's just that you have to get those out of your vocabulary. Your goal is to make that outline and that timeline that you've created real for them. It can't be anything along the lines of when they're ready or when they're comfortable doing it. You need to clearly communicate that the buyers who get the home that they want at the price they want are the buyers who are ready to submit a winning offer as soon as they find a good home. Okay, you have to make sure that you live there in that place. Number 2, the next buyer motivator is the mortgage approval. This strategy is already baked into the cake, so to speak. So it's an easy way to gently nudge buyers. However, it's important that during your buyer presentation, you should always tell the prospect that mortgage approvals usually expire within 30 to 45 days of getting them. All right, so there is something that's built into that. Additionally, mortgage rates change daily. So if their pre-approval expires, then they have to resubmit pay stubs, bank statements, new credit reports, etc., and that they are subject to the new interest rates. Okay, so the lender that you work with should also be reminding that buyer prospect of these facts as well, so that you're working as a team to encourage a decision. You have to do this. You can't let that mortgage and any lender that's worth his salt will have the expiration date on the pre-approval. It's kind of part of the process. However, you need to try to push for a little bit of a shorter timeline on the pre-approval. All right, just so you can make sure that the buyer is always aware that there's a ticking clock that they need to kind of keep in mind. Number 3, market forces. While people understand that houses come on and off the market at all times, they don't really understand it in a personal way. And here's what I mean by that. They've likely never experienced the feeling of really wanting a house and having it snatched right out from under them, having been underbid, and they've probably never experienced that. You have to make sure that they understand that it's an emotional and stressful process to bid on these houses and lose them. And it's even worse when you bid on multiple houses at the same time. Okay, so you have to find a way to communicate that it's very emotional. You have to impress upon them that they should hustle to find a home that is a good fit for them and that allow you to guide them through the process of submitting a winning offer. because there's nothing worse than finding a home in a neighborhood that you want to live at a price that you really can afford, with the school system that you like, that's close to a highway so you can get back and forth to work, and then you lose it because you're playing games because you watch too many, A&E shows about negotiating, flipping houses and stuff. Okay, you need to understand and really impress upon your buyers that there are market forces at work here, and you don't have time to dilly-dally around. And once you find the house, you have to make that decision. Number 4, you have to ask and answer the right questions. All right. In many cases, all that's stopping some people from moving forward and submitting offers is that they have questions that they need answered, and they just don't let you know that. All right. In other cases, you need to ask questions that prompt them to seriously consider taking action based on their motivation. So you'll have 2 different scenarios. You'll have the person who they have unanswered questions, but they feel weird. They don't want to feel like they're dumb for asking the question. And then you have other people who they don't really know what's holding them back, and you need to kind of probe a little bit and kind of dig a little bit. But in both cases, you have to have a thorough understanding of the buyer's motivations and factors that are impacting their decision. Is it a new job? Is it their kid is having a problem at school? Is it that they're just tired of renting? Is it that they had a loved one who passed away? I mean, you need to know the factors and the motivations that are driving their decision so that you know what kind of questions to ask them, okay? And just as a general rule of thumb, you should always be encouraging and prompting your buyers to ask any and every question that pops up in their mind. In fact, some of the best advice that I've ever seen is creating a cheat sheet of questions and answers that you can then give to your buyer leads to answer all potential questions as they pop up. All right. Buyer motivator number 5, solving their problem. There are many times when buyer leads are struggling to move forward because they can't solve a problem. All right. These problems can be anything from like credit scores changing, not really knowing what school options are available, forgot about the process overview and now have a wrong idea about what's happening next. All of those things can be issues. You have to be tuned into their situation in a way that you can interject professionally and give them solutions without coming across as a pushy salesperson. And you always probe just a little bit on each touch point as just a general rule, so that you aren't blindsided by anything. I mean, you need to find ways to inquire, say, hey, listen, the job transfers, everything's still going okay with that. If it's a case of them buying because a job is happening or whatever the issue may be, whether it's a health issue or whatever it needs to be, whatever it is, you need to kind of probe a little bit in each touch point with the prospect, just to make sure that you're not missing anything or anything hasn't changed and come up that will influence their purchase timeline. Buyer motivator number 6 is the down payment assistance offer. Okay. This strategy is all about focusing on the limited nature of down payment assistance programs when people are purchasing. So hopefully you have some resources that you could offer people who are looking to buy, even if even the wealthiest clients you'll ever meet would not say no to free money. Okay. Every down payment assistance program is limited in several ways. It's already limited. There's nothing you have to create or manufacture or lie or anything. It's every down payment assistance program has these limitations. The first one is usually location. Usually there's special neighborhoods or special zip codes that qualify towns, cities, areas, states, etc., that influence down payment assistance programs. Secondly, time for mortgage approval. Like I said earlier, the mortgage approval has its own expiration date, but down payment assistance programs are directly tied to the mortgage approval. All right, so they have an expiration as well. The financed amount, most down payment assistance programs do have some type of finance amount maximum cap, so that they can only, most cases you can't buy $1 million house and get down payment assistance. There's a purchase amount cap, meaning the purchase price of the house that you can buy, generally speaking. Then there's the total money available for each purchase. So even if you qualify for the down payment assistance, there's only so much money that they'll give you. Maybe it's $15,000, maybe it's $30,000, maybe it's $50,000. So there's a max there. And then there's a max as far as all available money in the program, usually done each calendar year. So all of these factors are things that you could weave through your presentation, through your touch points with this prospect, to remind them that, hey, listen, there's only, remember, they're only doing a certain amount of houses for this down payment assistance program. So you want to make sure you get in. Hey, listen, remember, the money is almost gone in phrases like that you could weave into it, and obviously make sure they're true depending on the down payment assistance program information that you discover about the program. But the fact of the matter is, you need to be planting these seeds of urgency in your prospect's mind so that they know what to expect in the sense of timeline. When you come to them and say, hey, listen, remember, the mortgage approval and the down payment assistance program expires at the end of this month. So if you find something, we really need to be really intentional and proactive this weekend, looking for houses and looking for properties that match. And so things like that can really push the transaction forward, is what you're looking for. And then the buyer benefits program expiring. So the first step is you need to have a buyer's program that's filled with benefits for a buyer prospect. That may be the issue. I know a lot of agents who don't have that, and that's the first problem. Okay. Then you want to make sure that in your buyer's presentation that you tell the prospect that the benefits package are only good for 90 days or some other date that you choose. All right. Then as you continue through that buying process, you occasionally bring up the expiration date of the buyer benefits. And the good thing about this strategy is that you can blend any number of services into your benefits package, and you can create the expiration date. You just have to make sure that you honor the date that you created. All right. And examples include home warranty, special housewarming gifts, discount coupons from other companies, etc. All right. So these are all things that you can do and include in your buyer's benefits program, and kind of create that sense of urgency and let them know, hey, listen, this is going to be expiring. So you want to make sure that you take advantage of it and try to find something that works for you before, it expires. Okay. So in this video, I've given you 7 great strategies for motivating and converting those buyer leads into submitting winning offers. But you shouldn't use all of these strategies every single interaction with a client. That would be annoying. Okay. You should only use them as to set the baseline in the buyer's presentation, but then only use them during the course of the process with this client when you feel the momentum of the process is slipping away. All right. But of course, none of this will help you if you're not showing houses that match the buyer's criteria. So your first goal is to find those houses that match your buyer's criteria. But after you've done that, you can use any of these strategies. And of course, you should start with using the buyer's presentation strategies and then begin to figure out 1 or 2 of the strategies that you can weave into your touch points with this prospect. Okay, so hopefully you found this video helpful. I have another video coming where I'm going to share something that's I think is really going to help you as far as getting more clients. And I want to share that with you in the next email that you get from me. So be sure to open up that email, click on the link, and I have some more great stuff that I really believe will help your real estate business grow and lead to more leads, more closing, and more referrals. Talk to you later.